So, good morning, everyone. So, today we will look over the uh, theories of general anesthetic, which tells us about how the general anesthetic, once we administer, what will be the mechanism of action in the body, right? So, am I clearly audible? Please, one can confirm.
Yes. Yes, you are
Okay, thank
audible.
you. Yes. So let's proceed that. The first point says the general anesthetics acts on the brain, that is CNS, to achieve the loss of consciousness. Right. The purpose to administer the general anesthesia is to make the person uh, unconscious to the surrounding stimuli. Right. So the general anesthetic, we have seen that it works on the CNS, whereas local anesthetic works on the peripheral nervous system. Okay. The subsequent point says this effect is cascadely obtained from the cerebral cortex, thalamus, and it is reticular activating system. Okay. So here these 2 points are the basic introduction to the theories, right? The foremost theory that we are going to see is the Mayer and Overton theory, which is having a synonym that the lipid based theory, right? The first point of the theory of Mayer and Overton is the theory is based on the fact that the general anesthetics are hydrophobic in nature, right? They are lipophilic, that means they are lipid soluble, and due to which they are easily crossing the blood brain barrier, and thus they are having the effect on the brain region. That too, it makes the person loss of unconscious, rather it makes the person unconscious, right? So it is lipophilic or hydrophobic in nature. This statement was derived from the experiment of general anesthesia with olive oil. Okay, the potency of general anesthetic is depend on its solubility in the olive oil. So first statement we have discovered that the anesthesia, that two general anesthetics are the lipophilic in nature. That means they are what, lipid soluble. So here the lipid containing media we are taking the olive oil, right? And the Mayer and Overton have discovered the solubility of general anesthetic agent in the olive oil, right? Thus, if we have the highly lipid soluble anesthetic, we will get rapid and potent anesthetic effect. The equation has been developed by Mayer and Overton, which depicts that the lipid solubility of general anesthetic is high, then it will have a potential effect on the CNS, which make the person more unconscious towards the surrounding stimuli, pain, right? The equation says the solubility of general anesthetic in olive oil per gas pKa, that is partition coefficient. Here in the physicochemical properties we have seen the partition coefficient is the ratio of a particular medicament in the aqueous and lipid compartment, right? So here same the gas, that is general anesthetic, are present in the gaseous format in this theory, right? So you have to consider that the general anesthetic is present in the gaseous form whose pK is determined, and on that basis we can eventually conclude that the solubility of general anesthetic in the olive oil, greater the solubility of general anesthetic in olive oil, greater will be its effect on the CNS, because the any agent only crosses the blood brain barrier only if it has the high lipophilicity. Okay. Sixth point says the any general anesthetic for good action, it should have the concentration in, just a minute, in between 20 to 50 20 to 50 milli mm, right? So first theory was based on the solubility of general anesthetic in the olive oil, right? The subsequent theory is depend upon, just a minute. Mullin's modification theory, right? This theory was having little deviation from the Mayer and Overton theory in the points like he modified the theory of the Mayer and Overton. According to Mullins, the volume of the anesthetic also play crucial role in the action of analgesic. That is loss of consciousness, we can say. This is usually displayed as mole fraction into partial molar volume. When we administer the general anesthetic, it expands the cell membrane and produces the analgesic effect only when the expansion of cell membrane occur about 0.3 to 0.5% of its original volume. As the concentration of expansion of cell membrane increases, the effect of anesthetic agent become potent. So here you have to focus on two brief points. First point is that along with the lipid solubility of general anesthetic, the second factor which has the crucial role is the volume of anesthetic that we administer, and that volume of anesthetic has the effect on the cell membrane expansion, right? If the expansion of cell membrane is more, thus we can consider the administered general anesthetic is potent one, and that too expansion of cell membrane should be occurred in between 0.3 to 0.5% of its original volume, right? So third theory, it is most modern and prominent and widely used theory apart from above two, right? The first point of protein binding or modern theory says us the theory focus on the fact that the target for anesthetics are playing the role in the mechanism of action of it in human body, right? We have seen in the bioisosterism that there are various other factors which we should study for modifying the drug, right? The factors in the body are targeted proteins, channels, and number of things, right? So here just we are focusing about the target on which the anesthetic agent has the mechanism, has the attachment, and through that attachment it will proceed for its mechanism of action. You are getting me? Yes, the target structural emphasize like the neurotransmitter, receptors, ion channels that are to be followed to know the actual theory core, right? The name of the theory is the protein binding. That protein binding occur only when the drug is having the attachment to the receptor, that to hydrogen or van der Waal or ionic bond, and that will lead to a protein binding theory, right? And then it will lead to the mechanism of action. Here too, the targets are considered to be the protein and the neurotransmitters on which the general anesthetic is going to be act will bind together or it will inhibit the binding. Both the action can be possible, right? So once it inhibits the binding, what mechanism of action it will lead, we will go one by one by taking the example of GABA neurotransmitter, which is inhibitor neurotransmitter, right? So in previous few class, I have told that the halothane, which act as the agonist, mimic the action of GABA neurotransmitter, right? Whereas in sevoflovin, which act as antagonist to the NMDA, that is N-methyl D-aspartate receptors. Why it act as antagonist, why it act as agonist, that two reasons I have elaborated in the previous class, okay? The third point of the theory is the most widely studied receptor is GABA, that is gamma aminobutyric acid type A, right? It's inhibitory neurotransmitter superfamily of ligand-gated receptor. True. So once the GABA is a neurotransmitter, so just focus on this cascade, right? If you get clear on this cascade, you will ultimately understand this picture, right? So GABA neurotransmitter, which is inhibitory one, activates the GABA receptors, right? But when there is the activation of these GABA receptors and when we administer the, on other hand, if we administer the general anesthetic, this makes the opening of chlorine channel. right? This makes the opening of chlorine channel. Once the chlorine channel is open, there is the flow of chlorine. This flow is only because the cellular membrane become more permeable to chlorine, right? And thus the chlorine atoms or ion flow through the channel and lead to the hyperpolarization of the cellular membrane. Right, once the hyperpolarization of cellular membrane is occurred, there is the decrease in the excitatory effects and causes the sedation. Right, here the GABA neurotransmitter act as inhibitor neurotransmitter, no doubt, but its action is less potent. Right, so to increase its action, we are administrating what general anesthetic, which ultimately bind with GABA and make the chlorine channel open. There will be the chlorine flow, influx of chlorine due to because the cell membrane become more permeable to it, which lead to hyperpolarization of cell membrane, and it eventually decrease the excitement to, or decreases the excitement, rather we can say it inhibits the impulse transmission, inhibits the threshold potential, and which lead to the sedation. No sensation on a particular region, no, on all over the body. In local anesthetic we find that sedation occur at the restricted area, but general anesthetic act over all over the body. Okay, so subsequent theory is based on, just a minute, the NMDA receptor, right? The NMDA, it is N-methyl D-aspartate receptors, right? So usually the NMDA receptor involved in the perception and memory. So here I would like to ensure you, or rather I can focus on this point, that in case of GABA, I'm again repeating, it is inhibitory neurotransmitter, but in case of NMDA receptor, it is not inhibitory. It make the person excite, right? So here we are using the halothane or nitrous oxide to inhibit its excitement. Here the general anesthetic act as antagonist to the receptor, whereas in case of GABA it act as the agonist because we want the inhibitory action. So here the NMDA receptor is not an inhibitory, it excites the person. That's why here the administered general anesthetic act as the antagonist to the receptor. Clear on this point? So usually the NMDA receptors are involved in the function of perception and memory on the frontal lobe, right? The general anesthesia like nitrous oxide, halothane act antagonistically to NMDA receptor. The nitrous oxide and halothane block the flow of calcium ions and magnesium through NMDA receptors. The hallucination, dissociative analgesic state occurs. So it is very simple cascade you might find in Google, right? So here just you are administrating the general anesthetic, and once it is administered, it acts antagonistically to the NMDA receptor by blocking the influx of calcium and magnesium ion, right? And once it blocks the pathway of calcium and magnesium ion flow, it ultimately lead to the hallucination and sedation in the person, right? So here one more bit I have mentioned, this NMDA receptor work more prominently in presence of this calcium and magnesium ion, and as we are blocking the pathways of calcium ion and rather channels of calcium and magnesium ion, which ultimately reduces the excitement of NMDA receptor and lead to the sedation or hallucination characteristics, right? So here you can say a revising or a conclusion of about two slide is that here the receptors, or we can say the neurotransmitters, are being placed. Here the action experienced when we administer the general anesthetic. So here we are using the GABA. Here the action is potentiated, that means elevated, increased by administrating the halothane, propofol, sevoflurane. That are the classification of general anesthetic we are seen in very first class. Subsequent is glycine, which is 2 inhibitory neurotransmitter. Here too the action is potentiated, increased by the general anesthetic. But in case of NMDA receptor, the action is inhibited once we administer the general anesthetic, that too ketamine and nitrous oxide and xenon. So here the ketamine comes under the class of dissociative analgesic or dissociative general anesthetic. That's why the effect 2 we will see dissociative 1. What is this dissociative analgesic? What are the ultra short acting? We will see in further slide in case of synthesis process, in case of its medicinal chem part, right? So just look over the chart again. I'm explaining the GABA and glycine are inhibitory neurotransmitter. That's why its action is increased by the general anesthetic, whereas NMDA receptor is able to excite the person, due to which its action is decreased by the general anesthetic, right? So we'll go with the first class of the general anesthetic, that is inhalation anesthetic, right? The inhalation anesthetic refers to the delivery of the gas or vapor to the respiratory system to produce anesthesia, right? The common feature of the class is it is non-inflammable, right? Non-explosive agent, decrease the cerebrovascular resistance, which lead to the increase in the perfusion of brain. The bronchodilation, decrement in both spontaneous ventilation and hypoxic pulmonary vasoconstriction. Mobility of this agent throughout the body occur, which are based on the fact that its solubility in blood and tissue. The solubility is marked as follows. So below that you will see a increasing order way of the general anesthetic, which depicts its solubility in the blood and tissue, right? The halothane is more soluble than N-fluorine, than isoflurane, sevoflurane, and nitrous oxide. Nitrous oxide is in the form of gases, and ultimately it has the low solubility in the blood and tissue. High solubility, low induction property. This is also prominent sentence, right? High solubility. Which solubility? In the blood, not the lipid solubility. You have to be clear on that point. It is the solubility in the blood and tissue, right? And this solubility, if it is high, it will eventually decreases the induction property. What is induction? We have seen in the phases of anesthesia, the very first phase is the induction or sedation, where you will find a hallucination or hallucination or dreamy state, right? Once we have taken the general anesthetic, right? So here you can say the halothane is very poor in induction property, but once it combined with the nitrous oxide, it will act as agonist to which receptor? Yes, may I know? It acts agonist to the GABA receptor, and it eventually opens the channel of chlorine. The influx of chlorine occur, which lead to hyperpolarization of cell membrane, which will ultimately lead to the sedation, right? So the first compound which comes under the inhalation anesthetic is the ethane, right? It is explosive, irritant to the respiratory tract. During induction can lead to nausea and vomiting. So here the purpose to highlight the ethane in red color is that it is very rarely used. Why rarely used? Because of its following properties. It is explosive in nature, it is irritant to the respiratory tract, and during the induction it may lead to nausea and vomiting, right? So along with these three statements, apart from that, it is highly flammable, highly toxic, then it is having more demerit apart from merit. The merit is the potency. It increases the anesthesia, it increases the sedation, but due to a single merit, we can't utilize it because it had numerous demerit, like it is explosive, irritant, and create nausea and vomiting, and flammable and toxic. right? It is very rarely used. So quickly we will see the SAR of ethane, right? The replacement of hydrogen of hydrocarbon lead to the increase in the anesthetic potency. This hydrocarbon means what? Ethane is C2H5. If we make one substitution over the hydrogen with other hydrocarbon or halogen, we will eventually increase its anesthetic potency. For example, if we attach a chlorine, that is halogen, over one hydrogen, it will lead to the generation of chloroform, right? Ethyl chloride and trichloroethylene. The number of chlorine atom to the actual alkyl group is going on increasing, right? But yet it is not applicable on large scale, right? Why it is not applicable? You will find few properties of it. So the second one is the
Can we say if we apply the electronegative group?
Yeah, we can say electronegative group, the group which withdraw the electron from adjacent group. Yeah, we can use the electro withdrawing group. The all halogens are electronegative group only, right?
So in short, you can say if we apply the electronegative group like chlorine, there will be the increasing the potency of the compound. So if you observe whatever the example you mentioned, chloroform, so chlorine is there, ethyl chloride, again chlorine is there, trichloro, so 3 chlorines are there. Okay, so in short, what I conclude that if you apply the electronegative group like halogens, chlorine, bromine, fluorine, so there will be the increasing the potency of the compound.
Yes, sir. So can I move forward?
You stop now. Let me give the chance to the Rajeshwari to continue the session of the engineering. So she will finish today the session of the instrumentation aspects or equipment aspect, and tomorrow we can again continue with the same. Okay.
Sure, sir. Hopefully it was good because the theory part was very
Ask
small.
3 questions to all of you. So tell me, students, which are the 3 theories that involved in the general anesthetic? Three theories she had mentioned. Which are those 3 theories? Regarding the general anesthetics. Yes, anyone? Which are the 3 theories to be involved? The question is open for all of you. Which are the 3 theories to mention?
Mary-Moulton theory, Mullen's theory, and protein binding.
Protein binding theory. So what is Mayer's overtone theory suggests that regarding the general anesthetic?
Anesthetic potency varies with liquid solubility.
Yeah. What is the next theory suggested that?
Cell membrane expansion. If the cell membrane expansion occur, it will passes through the cell membrane and it eventually increases its action, right? And the expansion of cell membrane should be in between 0.3 to 0.5%. Okay, and the third theory is the protein binding theory, where we have discussed the GABA and NMDA receptor. So there I have been there in the case of GABA, I have told once the general anesthetic act.
So in case of protein binding theory, okay, Malika, you just wait. Let me ask to the others. Let me check that whether they listen this concept or not. Okay. So in case of protein binding theory, which is the inhibitory receptor and which is the excitatory receptor, or you can say the agonist or antagonist? She mentioned two types of receptor in case of protein binding theory. So which is act as an antagonist and which acts as an agonist? Yes.
GABA act as a agonist.
GABA.
Act as a agonist.
GABA act as an agonist, and that NMDA. Okay, in that GABA, which type of receptor is responsible in GABA? She mentioned the subtype of it. Which is the name of that receptor? Yes, student 237. Yes, as usual. Student 242. 251. 256. 262. 268. 278. Yes, all are sleeping. Okay. Student 305. Student 318.